Unite the clans. Enoch. Let's go. Yo. Take me back to my reversion. Unite the clans. I give thanks to each person. It's that same holy water that we immerse in. It's that same tradition that we all each versed in. United we stand and divided they win. They ignited in their plans and divided they sin. If you think about it and see us all for the same lands, their biggest fear is that we all remain friends. I got love for Team Marsh and y'all podcast. I got love for Michael Matt fans. Ryan Grant, Rick, Barrett, T. Flanders, and Eric Sammons. Shout out to my boy, John Arrington. Avoid Babylon. I got love for Anthony and Rob Speak On. If you tried, you're persecuted, the same for the weak heart. Our roots go way back before the Genesis, the Greek ark, sweetheart.
Okay, so this video is going to be a little different because it's going to be a couple-day process here. So right now it's Sunday night. I don't expect to cook this until Tuesday. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to begin by marinating this this beef tongue.
I see the cow.
You want to see the cow tongue again?
I don't want to touch it.
You don't have to touch it if you don't want. You can if you want to. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, you think it's going to be yucky?
For me.
For you?
Why are cow tongues wild?
Wild? You think that's wild? Think. Okay, so I'm going to marinate the tongue here and let it sit for really the next 36 hours before slow cooking it, because the idea is you need to kind of most of the way cook it by either boiling it or slow cooking it in order to peel off this tough outer membrane. So I've never cooked this before. I have no idea what I'm doing, so I'm just going to kind of wing it. So I'm going to use some of this Butcher's all-purpose seasoning. It's really salt, garlic, chili pepper, paprika. And then I'm going to use some of this carne asada marinade. They say tongue is a really beefy flavored beef. So I'm going to kind of accentuate that with some carne asada marinade and go from there. Okay, so I have the tongue in the marinade. Usually I'd like to put this in a Ziploc or something, but this thing's way too big. So just going to let it sit in the marinade and flip it a couple times over the next 36 hours. I'm going to cover with press and seal, let it marinate, and then throw it in a Instant Pot. And, like a day and a half, and we'll go from there. So here's the tongue after it's been marinating now for like a day and a half. So I'm going to throw that in my pressure cooker there with some Rotel, diced tomatoes and green chilies, along with some chipotle peppers and adobo sauce. Basically, pressure cook it, 90 minutes, I think, or so, until I know it's done. And then going to make some, yellow saffron rice and kind of turn these into tongue, lengua burritos, basically. So going to throw it all in the Instant Pot here and go from there. That thing's something else. That's for sure. And once I get it cooked down, I have to let it cool just enough to where I can handle it, so I can cut off and peel off that membrane. So I'm going to throw all this sauce that I was marinating it in here. Throw in the Rotel. The chipotle peppers should add a nice bit of heat, as well as some nice roasted flavor. Chipotle peppers are just roasted jalapenos. So nice roasted jalapeno flavor. And the adobo sauce is great too. Add a little bit of heat. So I'm gonna seal this up and cook it for 90 minutes, and we'll see what it looks like after that. Okay, so the tongue has cooked now for 90 minutes. So I need to pull it out and let it cool just enough so I can pull that thick membrane off. Right now I got my rice cooking. It calls for a couple tablespoons of either oil or butter. What I did is I threw 2 tablespoons of this beef tallow in there to kind of reinforce the beef flavor that I'm hoping to get from the tongue. So gonna let that cook here, absorb all the water. Gonna pull this out, let it cool, and get that membrane cut off. So after only about a minute of cooling, I just pulled on basically the tip of the tongue and pulled up, and that membrane, that outer part of the tongue, just peeled right off. And that is like sandpaper, basically, or like football leather. So there's the tongue. I'm gonna dice it up, cut it up to put in our burritos. Okay, so I cut the tip of the tongue off, and Hope is gonna try it and let me know what she thinks of it.
Oh, that's good.
That's pretty good.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
It's super beefy and super tender.
What do you think, Ignatius? Do you think you want to try a piece? He's like, oh, he's like, no, I got my chocolate milk. Okay.
Really good.
So I'm gonna cut this up further, for like meat for burritos. But I just wanted to show you the tongue like this. I mean, if you look at it just like this, it really looks just like pot roast. And I'll tell you, I just ate a piece of it. It would, if you served it to someone and told them it was pot roast, they would tell you it is the best pot roast they've ever had in their whole life. It is tender and juicy to the like more than any pot roast I've ever had before. And not only that, the beef flavor is intense, but yet really, really like pure and clean. And it doesn't taste like what you would, think a cow tongue would taste like. It is awesome. These are going to be awesome burritos. Okay, so our lengua, our beef tongue, is ready. The rice is done cooking there. I got a skillet ready to warm up some tortillas. Got some cheese. I would have liked to find some like queso fresco or something like that, but the little grocery stores up by us in these small towns are pretty limited. So, but I got some pico de gallo to add a little freshness to it. So, just gonna throw our tortilla on there to get warming up. We don't want it to get too hot where it gets kind of, dry and crunchy or crusty, because that makes it hard to roll then. So we're really just getting a little warmed up there. Gonna flip it. Throw some cheese on to get melted. Do that just long enough to get a little melty. And then I'll load up the burrito and roll it, and we'll see how it tastes. Okay, so there's the burrito all built up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll it and then throw it back on the skillet to kind of seal it up. Make sure it doesn't unroll. Okay, so the burrito's been grilling here on its seam, I guess you could call it. So flip it over and get it on the other side there. I could let it go a little bit longer and get a little bit more kind of grilled and colored there, but that's not really what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to make sure it stays nice and rolled up. So we'll let this finish, and then we'll cut into it and see what it's like.
Recording.
Okay, here we go. I'm gonna give our tongue burrito or Lengua burrito a try here. So. It's very good. So the meat, the texture of the meat's a little different. You know, a beef burrito like that, you'd expect like a shredded beef, but the tongue doesn't really work that way. So it's more like a chunk of tender, juicy pot roast. But the flavor is awesome. Definitely one of the better beef burritos I've ever had.